Alright guys, the black car's doing pretty good. I ordered some parts for it. I'm going to get 24-pound injectors and a new mass air meter to go with the injectors. And this thing is doing really well. I had like a little rear main oil drip situation going on, and I don't even think that's probably the tail end on the transmission, but I mean, I think that seal got to where it needs to be, so that's fantastic news. I'm like still in shock over this black car. I just can't believe how well it's turned out. And like, this car means a lot to, you know, me, my dad, I mean pretty much everyone. You know, my brother, my friends, like everybody's in love with this car. And like, and I know there's a lot of guys on YouTube that love this car too, so I'm glad that we can get back on the road, and I can't wait to make some videos. Like, man, this car just sounds so great. I gotta get some better audio of this thing out on the street. So, you know, next move, I gotta get this thing going. My buddy Andy stopped by to wash his car a few weeks ago, so I was like, he was on his way over, I was like, well, I'll fire up the Mustang, and you know, I like to run it every now and then. And so I thought, oh, I'm gonna pull it in the garage and wipe it off, you know. So I go to pull it over here in the garage, and some smoke was coming out of the hood. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? I get out of the car, I'm looking under there, and power steering just cut loose. So it looks like it's the rack. I mean, honestly, I'm pretty sure this is original stuff. I mean, the rack is definitely original. I don't know if I ever did the power steering. I don't think so. And, I mean, this stuff got its ass kicked in SCCA. I actually did a video a few years back. We had to do the inner tie rods because there was some slop in the wheel, and that's what the issue was. So, I mean, this rack's definitely seen better days. So I thought, well, I think it's time to get all new stuff. I'm just gonna get the rack and the pump, and I got some polyurethane bushings for the rack, so should be able to get this thing sorted out. And then the other thing I wanted to do is get rid of these equal length shorty headers. I'd really love to put long tubes on this car, but I'm kind of, I don't know, I really wanted to get Mac stuff, and I think Mac went out of business, which is just super depressing. But for now, just to not get super wrapped up in that, I got some shorty headers that came off my dad's car, so I'm just gonna swap those shorties on there. I mean, the other thing is, like, these things, all the paint kind of just got burned off of here, so these get super hot. Like, it's like overwhelming how hot the engine compartment gets. So I'm gonna do that, get this power steering stuff sorted out, and I also got valve seals because I think I got some oil leaking through the valve seals. I'm not 100% sure that's the issue, but hopefully it is, because that will be a fairly easy fix. So I'll be tearing these valve covers open and doing that. So hopefully all this comes apart. Been trying to soak this stuff up. Pretty rusty. So we'll see. Get this thing out of here. Really want to get this thing back on the street too. So I don't know about these headers. They're probably not going to want to come off of there, but we'll see. Hopefully it won't be too much of a battle. Let's get cracking on this. Swapping out the injectors on the black car. The old 19-pounders are out of there. Getting ready to put the 24s in there. So the white car has a 73mm C&L that's trimmed for 24, so I'm going to put that in here. And I bought a Pro-M that's designed for the elbow, the cold air intake for this, and this one's got the new 24s in there, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then I've got this old I think that's Professional Products fuel pressure regulator, and it's not holding pressure. So when you turn the key on, the pressure jumps up, and then after the injector's done priming, it'll drop down to 0 immediately. So just picked up a Curban. I ran one of these on my white car. I think it lasted about 18 years. And then I just bought another Curban. I think that was, I don't know, 2018 I swapped that out. It might have been 19 years. Can't remember when I bought that regulator. 99? Yeah, so it's probably 19 years. Anyways, so I figured gonna throw this on there so it actually holds pressure. And I think I'm gonna go pop these valve covers off and just check the rockers, make sure everything's, you know, going okay under there. Seems like everything's okay, but I just want to double check it to be sure. Hopefully get this thing finished up. Got the injectors in, and I believe this car has a 255 liter per hour pump in it. So with just one turn of the key, I'm already up to 20, and it's holding. So I'm gonna cycle that key again. Let's see where we're at here. Cool, it's holding. And then it's a good time to check for leaks. Well, you still got all this ripped apart. I mean, if you got a, it's always a good idea to have a pressure, have the pressure gauge, because if you got a leak, you're gonna see it going down. But still like to visually inspect all this stuff. Yeah, I think we're good. So I gotta tear into these valve covers, check the valve train, make sure that's all doing okay, and then should be ready to throw this intake back on and see how it runs with these 24s. Alright, I put a half turn on the adjuster, screwed it in, so I'm above 20. I don't want to sit here and keep cycling the key because I'm just going to flood the engine, so I put like 2 more full turns on that, which should get me closer, get me somewhere in the 30s maybe. So it should be good enough to start it up, and then once I get her fired up, I'll do that. You know, get it set. I'll probably start maybe around 39, 40 and see from there, see how it runs, start making adjustments. But yeah, make sure you always double check this stuff. I mean that's like, sometimes guys will put a fuel pump in a car. They put the pump in, they put put the tank back in, they wrestle all that stuff back in there, and they go and hit the key and they got nothing. Or you find out or you hear something and it's reverse polarity and the pump's not pushing it's not pushing fuel to the engine, it's going the other way. So you definitely want to, especially with a fuel pump, I mean, you can just get a cup and fill it with like Marvel mystery oil and test that, best bench test that pump and make sure it's pumping in the right direction, because sometimes those pumps are mislabeled. But always think about that stuff. You want to double check before you put everything back together, like especially a fuel pump. And I mean, even this job, you put that intake back on and get everything snugged down, you're ready to go, and you find out something's leaking or there's a problem, you got to pull that intake back off. Like, that's pretty frustrating. So always double check that stuff. Got all the rockers off. Everything's actually looking pretty decent. I was concerned about those rockers making contact with the retainers, and it's probably like one spot. Looks pretty minor, but it's about the only retainer that has a mark on it. So I'm going to go through all these and shim them up and try to get them where they need to be. I mean, the car is running pretty good without the shims, but I think some of these need to be shimmed, so figured I'll take care of that now, get that out of the way. Did the shimming on the rockers. They're all pretty good except the exhaust on 4, 5, and 8. It's like I need a shim that's smaller than the 20 thou, but I don't know, it's a little tight. But I don't know. I guess I'll see if there's different shim kits, but should be okay. And I went through and did all the header bolts again, snugged them up. Couple of them had come loose, and then retorqued the lower intake, and quite a few of those bolts had come kind of loose. So you really gotta, when you put that intake on, you have to pretty much heat cycle the engine, you know, and let it cool overnight. You want it to be totally cool and retorque it. So I've probably had the car running for like a couple weeks now. I mean, I've only driven it like maybe 5 times, but I haven't run it since yesterday, so it definitely is cool. Definitely cooled overnight, and you know, it's something you want to do. Make sure you retorque that lower. I don't know. It's almost like anytime you take the upper off, you should probably check that, because it seems like these intakes are notorious for coming loose. So got that done. I'm pretty much ready to start throwing the upper intake back on here. Get this thing buttoned up.